True success comes from doing what you genuinely love, not what society expects of you. Living fully in the present moment is more powerful than chasing a distant future. Letting go of control and flowing with life opens doors that force never could. Real fulfillment arises when you recognize your deep connection to everything around you. A playful, light-hearted approach to life often leads to more joy and wisdom than rigid seriousness. Now I tell you 5 rules about success. Rule number 1. Do what you love, not what you think you should do. Alan Watts often questioned modern society's definition of success. In many of his lectures, he highlighted how people fall into the trap of chasing careers, money, and social status while completely neglecting their inner passions and true interests. He called this a tragedy of modern life, people doing things they dislike to earn money, so they can keep on doing things they dislike even more. His core message was simple yet deeply revolutionary. If you want to be truly successful, do what you love. From an early age, we're conditioned to follow a path that is considered practical, secure, or prestigious. Society praises doctors, engineers, and CEOs while undervaluing artists, musicians, philosophers, or free thinkers. This mindset creates a narrow view of success, one that's often disconnected from genuine fulfillment. Watts challenged this view by suggesting that money should never be the primary motivator. He famously asked, "What if money were no object?" That one question alone has changed thousands of lives, encouraging people to look inward and rediscover their real interests. He believed that doing what you love creates a ripple effect. When you're passionate about your work, you do it with greater energy, creativity, and commitment. This in turn makes you more effective, more fulfilled, and ironically, more likely to succeed in terms of wealth or recognition, because people are drawn to excellence and authenticity. But even if it doesn't make you rich, Watts argued, it's still worth it. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way. He insisted. His definition of success was not longevity, comfort, or external approval. It was living a life true to yourself. He didn't say it would be easy. Following your passion might involve risk, discomfort, or going against the grain. It may mean earning less, at least in the beginning, or working harder without certainty. But to Watts, that struggle was far more noble than wasting years on something that left your soul dry and uninspired. Doing what you love also brings you closer to your authentic self. It strips away masks and societal roles and lets you express your inner truth. That alone is a form of success. To live without pretending, to speak without lying, to work without feeling trapped. When your passion becomes your purpose, life gains meaning. You wake up with drive, not dread. You measure your days by joy, not just paychecks. Alan Watts believed that success is not an endpoint, it's a state of being, a rhythm that flows when you're aligned with your true intent. In a world obsessed with comparison and competition, this rule is a reminder to slow down, reflect, and choose the path that lights your spirit. Because ultimately the most successful people are not those who followed the rules of others, but those who had the courage to follow themselves. Rule number 2, live in the present moment. One of Alan Watts' most powerful and recurring messages was the importance of living fully in the present moment. In a world that is constantly racing toward the future, chasing promotions, deadlines, and the next big thing, Watts argued that we often forget the only moment that truly exists is now. Success, in his view, wasn't just about achieving external goals, but about experiencing life deeply, moment by moment. He believed that modern people are trained to treat life as a series of stepping stones. You go to school to get into college, then get a job, then buy a house, and so on. But at every stage, people are so focused on the next milestone that they fail to enjoy where they are. This way of thinking creates a mindset where happiness is always just around the corner, never here, never now. Watts described this as the great hoax of life. We sacrifice the present for a future that never arrives. To Watts, this was madness. He compared life to a piece of music or a dance. The point of music is not to reach the final note, and the point of a dance is not to get from one side of the room to the other. The beauty lies in the unfolding, in the experience itself. When you apply this understanding to success, it transforms how you approach your goals. Instead of rushing to make it, you begin to ask, am I enjoying the process? That enjoyment, that presence, that is success. He encouraged people to stop treating the present like a stepping stone and instead see it as the main event. Whether you're working, relaxing, creating, or even struggling, the key is to be fully there. When you're in the present moment, your actions are more thoughtful, your mind is calmer, and your sense of satisfaction increases. It's not about doing less, it's about doing with awareness. Living in the present also reduces anxiety and regret, two major enemies of success. Anxiety comes from worrying about what hasn't happened yet. Regret comes from clinging to what already passed. But neither the future nor the past can be touched. Only the present is real. When you bring your mind back to the now, you find clarity, power, and peace, a state from which true action and insight arise. Watts also pointed out that the future is not guaranteed. You can spend decades planning for retirement, but what if you don't make it there? What if you miss out on your life while trying to build a successful one? He wasn't against ambition, but he was against letting ambition rob you of presence. The goal should be to live well now, not just later. Success, therefore, is not just about what you achieve. It's about how deeply you experience your life while you're living it. And the only place where that experience can happen is the present moment. Rule number 3. Let go of control and flow with life. Alan Watts often spoke about the illusion of control, the belief that we can fully manage or dictate the course of life through willpower, strategy, or planning. While modern definitions of success often praise discipline, control, and domination over circumstances, Watts challenged this notion by offering a more fluid and organic view. He taught that life is not a problem to be solved, but a process to be experienced, like a river that flows effortlessly, bending and twisting in response to obstacles, never fighting its path, only adapting to it. In many of his talks, Watts used analogies from nature. He compared human life to clouds, waves, and trees, things that don't resist what they are but move with the wind, tides, and seasons. This natural flow, he believed, held the secret to real success. Instead of constantly trying to bend life to your will, success comes when you understand how to cooperate with reality as it unfolds. He didn't suggest that people should be passive or lazy, but that they should become wise observers and participants in the dance of life, not rigid controllers. This perspective can be deeply liberating. Many people experience stress, frustration, and burnout because they are constantly trying to force outcomes, meet impossible standards, or live according to someone else's blueprint. Watts taught that the universe doesn't work in straight lines, and neither do we. Life is full of surprises, twists, delays, and detours. When you let go of the need to control every detail, you open yourself to something much more powerful. Trust in the process, trust in yourself, and trust in the flow of life. He encouraged people to embrace uncertainty rather than fear. Uncertainty, in his view, wasn't a weakness or a flaw in the system. It was the space where creativity, spontaneity, and growth could emerge. When you stop demanding that things happen your way and on your timeline, you often discover better paths that you hadn't imagined. Success, therefore, becomes a matter of alignment, not force. Watts also believed that much of our suffering comes from resisting change. We try to hold on to people, jobs, identities, or outcomes, even when life is signaling us to move on. But the more you resist, the more pain you create. Well, to him, letting go was not giving up. It was an act of wisdom. It's the difference between drowning in a river because you fight the current and floating with it, allowing it to carry you to your next destination. Letting go also means releasing the ego's constant need to prove itself. The desire to be seen as successful, important, or in control can become a trap that leads to stress and self-doubt. But when you surrender that need, even temporarily, you make space for genuine insight, inner peace, and a sense of purpose that is not tied to external validation. Rule number 4. You are not separate from the world. A core idea in Alan Watts' teachings is the interconnectedness of all things. He frequently emphasized that the individual is not isolated from the universe, but is an expression of it, like a wave is part of the ocean. This understanding reshapes how we view success. In the conventional sense, success is often measured by personal gain, competition, and individual status. But Watts proposed a radical shift. True success is not about standing apart from others, but about realizing your connection to everything and everyone around you. He criticized the modern obsession with the ego, the idea that we are separate as selves living in a world that is out there, something to conquer, exploit, or manipulate. This belief creates a constant inner tension. We start to see life as a battle, other people as threats or tools, and nature as a resource to use up. According to Watts, this illusion of separateness is the root of anxiety, greed, and suffering. When you deeply understand that you are not separate from the world, your motivations begin to change. You no longer seek success for the sake of dominance or status, but for harmony, contribution, and fulfillment. Your goals align with the greater good. You become more compassionate, more creative, and more attuned to the needs of others. Not because you're trying to be a good, but because you realize their well-being is connected to yours. There is no cue apart from them. Watts explained this through metaphors like the dance of existence. Just as a dancer and the dance are not truly separate, or a singer and the song are one in the moment of performance, so too are you and the universe intertwined in a larger rhythm. Success, then, becomes less about control and more about participation, about playing your part in the grand symphony of life with authenticity and awareness. This principle also dissolves much of the fear associated with failure. If you are part of the world, not outside it, then every setback is not a personal catastrophe, but part of a larger pattern unfolding. You begin to see failure not as rejection, but as redirection. A shift in the current that guides you toward another path. This perspective fosters resilience, patience, and openness, essential traits for anyone seeking lasting success. Watts also pointed out that recognizing our oneness with the world makes us more mindful of our environment and our impact on others. Success achieved at the cost of the planet, or other people's suffering, is ultimately empty, because you cannot harm others without also harming yourself. When you understand your role in the web of life, you move from selfish ambition to meaningful contribution. This role invites you to stop trying to beat the system and instead realize you are the system. You're not a visitor in the universe. You are the universe, experiencing itself through your unique lens. And when you live and work from that space of unity, everything you do gains depth, purpose, and a quiet kind of success that no award or paycheck can match. Rule number 5, don't take life too seriously. Among Alan Watts' most refreshing and liberating ideas is the belief that life is not a problem to solve or a race to win. It's more like a play, a piece of music, or a dance. He often urged people not to take life too seriously, not because life lacks depth or meaning, but because seriousness often becomes a trap. In our quest to be successful, respected, and on top, we lose the joy, spontaneity, and humor that make life worth living in the first place. Watts argued that seriousness is often mistaken for wisdom or maturity, but in reality it can lead to rigidity, anxiety, and fear. When we take ourselves too seriously, we become obsessed with image, afraid of making mistakes, terrified of what others might think. This seriousness closes us off to experience, makes us overly cautious, and builds emotional walls around us. Instead of living, we begin to perform, trying to meet expectations rather than explore possibilities. This mindset affects how we approach success. If you believe life is a grim climb to some distant summit, then success becomes just another weight, a burden you must carry to justify your existence. You begin to measure your worth through titles, money, and external approval. Watts saw this as a tragic misunderstanding of what it means to be alive. He believed that the point of life is not to arrive anywhere, but to enjoy the ride. That's why he loved comparing life to music. When you listen to music, you don't rush to the final note. You immerse yourself in the rhythm, the melody, the feeling. In the same way, if you live too seriously, focused only on outcomes, you miss the flow of life itself. You become blind to the beauty, the silliness, and the unexpected gifts along the way. Watts wasn't saying you shouldn't work hard or strive for excellence. Rather, he taught that you should play with life, approach challenges with curiosity instead of fear, treat failures as lessons instead of curses, and laugh at your mistakes instead of being crushed by them. This playful spirit isn't a weakness, it's a sign of inner strength. It shows that you're not controlled by fear or pride. You're free to express yourself, take risks, and bounce back when things go wrong. Humor, in this sense, is wisdom in disguise. It allows you to see through the illusions of status, ego, and perfection. It reminds you that we're all making it up as we go and nobody really has it all figured out. When you stop pretending, when you drop the mask of seriousness, you become more authentic, more relatable, and paradoxically, more successful. Because people are drawn to those who are genuinely alive. For Watts, the ultimate success was not in climbing ladders but in dancing freely, even when others were still building steps. Life, he said, is not a journey but a destination. It's a play, and the best way to honor it is to enjoy every act, every scene with presence, laughter, and a light heart. Rule number 6. Passion is the real power. In a world driven by deadlines, competition, and expectations, we are often taught that success is achieved through discipline, sacrifice, and relentless hard work. While these elements have their place, they are not the true engine of lasting achievement. The real driving force, the one that sustains energy, fuels creativity and brings meaning to every effort, is passion. Passion is not just an emotion. It is a deep internal fire that transforms ordinary efforts into extraordinary impact, It's the spark that turns work into joy and dreams into reality. People often chase careers, jobs, or titles that promise security, prestige, or money. But many of those who make it in such fields still find themselves feeling empty, burnt out, or unfulfilled. That's because without passion, even the most impressive achievements feel hollow. Passionless work drains you. It becomes a duty, a grind, something you endure rather than something you embrace. On the other hand, when you are passionate about what you do, everything changes. Challenges become exciting puzzles, long hours become a flow state, and your energy multiplies not because you're pushing yourself harder, but because something within you is pulling you forward. Passion also unlocks creativity. When you're deeply engaged in something you love, your mind opens up. Ideas flow more naturally. You're more likely to take risks, try new approaches, and find innovative solutions. Passion makes you curious, and curiosity leads to growth. This kind of self-driven learning and experimentation is what often leads to breakthrough success. People who are passionate tend to master their craft not out of obligation, but out of fascination. They're not just working, they're exploring, playing, inventing. Moreover, passion makes perseverance possible. Every path to success includes obstacles, setbacks, and moments of doubt. If your motivation is purely external, money, status, approval, you'll likely give up when things get tough. But if your drive comes from within, if you're genuinely passionate, you'll keep going. You'll push through rejection, failure, and fatigue. Not because you have to, but because you want to. Passion gives you resilience. It reminds you why you started and keeps you grounded in your why when everything else feels uncertain. Passion is also contagious. When you're excited about something, people notice. They feel your enthusiasm. They become inspired by your energy. Whether you're an artist, entrepreneur, teacher, or leader, passion attracts others. It helps you build teams, connect with audiences, and influence people in a way that feels authentic. Passion brings people together around a shared vision, and that collective energy is often what makes big things possible. It's important to note that passion doesn't always mean obsession or perfection. You don't need to have just one great passion in life to be successful. It could be a set of interests, values, or causes that you care deeply about. What matters is that what you do aligns with who you are, that your daily efforts reflect your internal compass. You might be passionate about helping people, building things, solving problems, or expressing ideas. There's no single formula, but whatever it is, let it guide your path. Many people wait for the right time to follow their passion after they get a degree, after they get a stable job, after they retire. But waiting too long risks losing touch with what moves you. Passion needs space to grow, and often the earlier you plant it into your life, the deeper its roots can reach. That doesn't mean you need to quit everything and start over. You can begin by making small moves, a side project, a creative outlet, volunteering, learning new skills, anything that reconnects you to what excites your soul. In the end, passion is not just a feel-good concept. It's a real power, one that drives purpose, fuels perseverance, and shapes your unique version of success. The most fulfilled people are not those who follow the safest path, but those who had the courage to follow what lit them up inside. When you lead with passion, you don't just build a career or achieve a goal, you build a life that reflects your deepest self. So, if you're looking for the foundation of lasting success, look inward. Listen to what stirs your curiosity, what gives you energy, and what brings you joy. Because in that fire you'll find your direction. And in that direction, you'll discover your greatest power. Let your passion be the compass that guides your journey, the fuel that drives your purpose, and the light that makes your path unmistakably yours. When you move with passion, success doesn't just follow, it becomes inevitable. Now it's time to make yourself successful person.